To Training Peaks, does like everything still run okay?
I don't know. Try.
Yeah, I'm on there now.
Okay. Well then, yeah, we're sweet.
Yeah, cool.
All right, you good?
Yeah,
Boom, and we're live. Blake, how you doing, brother?
good mate. Good. Just soaking up the start of the school holidays, which is nice.
Yeah, it's good timing too. End of the season, bit of sun.
Yeah,
School's over. How good?
yeah,
How are you feeling? How are you feeling post busso?
yeah. Good. Had 10 days in WA after the trip, so
Yep.
then coming back to see mates and talking about it, then work and all that kind of stuff. It's good to talk about it after I've thought about it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Always find like the longer the race, the longer away from the race, the more fond my memories are of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What'd you do in WA for the 10 days?
We hadn't sort of not 4 days in Busso, night in Margaret River,
Yep.
then Albany and Esperance, then back up to Fremantle. So covered a bit of ground, which is
Yeah,
good.
nice. Yeah.
Mainly just beaches and beers and wineries, which was cool after
Yeah.
the race.
Yeah, that's exactly what you should do after the race.
Yeah, and I think racing on the first day of December's perfect timing leading into Christmas, and yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Everything's done now. All you got to do is get through the family stuff and
Yeah.
yeah, you're sweet. Cool. For people who don't know you, tell us a bit about like how you got into triathlon, how that all started.
Yeah, I've sort of always done sport. Started with rugby league as a junior through school, um, and I think in year 11, my mate asked me to come and row surf boats. So I rowed at Nobby's Beach for Nobby's Beach Surf Club for 5 seasons, probably 2 years of juniors, and then that crew sort of fell apart and I went straight into the opens with some so I would have been maybe 20 with some older guys, and they were well into it. So that was a steep learning curve as far as training and stuff goes. So I think that sort of developed the engine to some
How long's
extent.
like a surfboat event?
It's probably like about a mile, probably 1,500, 1,600 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say it's about anywhere between 6 and 8 minutes, maybe,
Okay.
if my memory serves me correct. But obviously, condition dependent. You can not finish quite
Yeah,
easily
yeah.
if
Yeah.
the surf's up. Yeah, and then one year I got a road bike just for some cross training, and then one year one of the boys injured himself, so I think that's probably when I got did my first triathlon. So I'm going to say probably 2012, 2013.
Okay. So a
Yeah,
decade basically.
yeah, yeah. And with I lived in London for a few years, so with
Yeah,
a
nice.
decent break.
Whereabouts?
West London,
Yep.
White City,
Yep.
with all the other Australians, and then moved to the northwest near Kilburn.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived out towards Surrey for like 2 years, so
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So it was I joined the Nike Run Club there. So
Oh yeah.
there was a lot of running done there. Nothing probably longer than no nothing longer than like a 10K race, but yeah, sort of ran a lot over there. Didn't have the means to get a decent bike or anything. Had a
It is a big run culture in London. Like
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah,
running all the time.
yeah. What's funny is with I did a bit of Oz tag over there as well. It's you do your run or you do your game, and it's always have a beer afterwards,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
was a bit of a change from the more performance sort of attitude we have here, I think.
Yeah, I think I just think there's an age where we all hit where it's like, okay, probably not going to make the NRL. It's okay to have a beer
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Some of us
Um,
hold on to that a little bit longer than others, but
yeah. And then back end of the London stint, I injured what I thought was my meniscus, and like turned out to be ACL. Couldn't do anything about it over there, so just sort of hobbled along and ended up getting surgery in 2017, and that kind of stopped all my sideways movement
Mhm.
activities, and um, was pretty diligent with all the rehab stuff, and that was like the main sort of time I got in more into triathlon.
Yeah, and then first Ironman was.
Did a half in 2018,
Mhm.
Western Sydney, and then mainly like me and my mates would just do sort of the Maitland, Tomaree, Newcastle club races, do the Spark Helmore, things like that. Then we had a crack at Western Sydney 2018. Um, then I guess that moved into sort of COVID. Um, tried I went through two marathon blocks. The first one was stopped because of COVID, and the next year was stopped because of a like stress reaction. Um, and then yeah, did Port 2023
Yep.
first
How'd you go on
Ironman.
port?
Really good. Yeah, I sort of I think I goal was sub 10, 9:38.
Yeah,
I,
nice.
yeah, which was good.
Yep.
Had a good swim, average ride, and a good run.
Yep. When you say an average ride, what are we talking?
Uh, bit under 5.5 hours,
Okay. And what? Then
but
you ran like a 3 hour marathon or something?
yeah, 3:10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Good. That's hard to run a good marathon off port. Like your legs are normally cooked.
yeah, and that road just gives you nothing. Like,
Yeah. Nothing.
yeah,
Excuse me. The run course isn't particularly favourable either, though, is it?
you got that bump at the caravan park,
Yeah.
which you get to come down the driveway to the beach. The crowd support there's like we went out to we went all the way out to Settlement Point. It got a bit lonely out there, but yeah, I'd say compared to Busso was sort of more compact.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more spread out in Port, and probably more people like being more local. That
Mm.
sort of knew you,
Yeah.
which was cool. Yeah,
I think that's one of the things I love and hate about Busso is when you ride on the foreshore, it's electric, and then the
yeah,
second you leave it, you're just like, oh, it's a cold, lonely place.
yeah,
Yeah, you're just by
yeah.
yourself.
Even like both ends, even like the uh, south end. It's
Yeah,
not long. It's probably only a kilometer,
but
two
it just goes
kilometers
to nothing.
total.
Like once you
Yeah,
sort of go through the car
yeah,
park, it's
yeah,
just dead quiet.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, brutal. Um, cool, dude. Let's tell people how'd you go on Busso.
Yeah, had a really good day. I did it 8:54. Came sixth
Was that the goal to
overall.
break 9?
Yeah, the goal was to break 9. Yep.
Yep.
Sixth overall and third in the 30 to 34 age group.
Yeah.
And I, the the time didn't come as a shock to me, but based on like previous years,
The placing.
the placing was definitely like a big shock.
Yeah. What do you think you were going to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower?
Well, I was 10th in my age group at Port, so I was thinking like I would say top 10, but I think there was 33 sub 9s last year and there was 8 or 9 this year.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like 140 sub 10s and there was 70 odd this year. So I'd say Taupo had something to do with that,
Yeah.
but you can only race who shows
Yeah,
up.
of course. You can only race who's there. No,
Yeah.
that's not anyone's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean like breaking 9 at Busso is like, I mean if there's a course to do it, Busso is the one, but you guys didn't have the best conditions. I didn't go over this year, but like choppy swim, the wind was running amok on the bike, and I don't know if you were still out there, but people got rained on.
Yeah.
Yeah, just run us through that race.
Yeah, all the footage that's coming through that you're seeing on YouTube, unfortunately, doesn't do it justice. So you'll have to take our words for it, I guess.
Yeah.
So the swim was go out 300 meters, then it's a long drag. So it was sort of a head, coming towards you diagonally chop for that
Yep.
kilometer or so down. Um, and just no rhythm. Sort of, you'd be halfway through your stroke and you'd cop one, or
Yep.
yeah, and just sort of like um, uh, stop start. Like, yeah, it feels like you'd come to a dead stop at times. Then the left hand turn and then along the shore was quite good.
Yep. You're getting the push.
Yeah, and I think coming from that surf background, you can sort of feel that lift and push a bit to get a bit out of the um, swell, I guess, waves.
Yep.
Um, and I will say, like, I'd imagine it would be quite daunting for people who don't have access to open water. Um,
For sure.
yeah, and my partner told me like there were people being pulled out, which sucks. But yeah, it was definitely challenging. And
It's
then
just one of those things. It's like if you haven't experienced it, like there's no training you can do to
no,
get
no,
ready for it.
and the days before were beautiful.
Yeah.
So like
Uh,
it was a shock.
yeah.
Yeah, Aussie exit, and then it was pretty chaotic on that second mini lap.
Yeah, where you
Yeah,
join back up.
yeah, bodies everywhere, and um, I think like I actually think the water obviously had a bit more like forward motion to it from all the
Hmm.
people swimming, possibly, but yeah, it was pretty there was arms and legs going everywhere. Yeah, it was, I'd say it was four 4 or 5 minutes slower than maybe 4 minutes slower than what I was hoping based on
Yep.
port, and
And what'd you
yeah,
swim?
58, I think.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, right. I mean, if you had a swum of 50, sub 55, like you're right at the pointy end of age group swimming.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it was a 58. I think port was a 54, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then out onto the bike. What was the goal for the bike?
The goal was I guess, was 4 hours 50
Okay.
to
That
yeah,
seems a
get
little
me.
conservative considering what you rode at Port and how much you've progressed.
Yeah, well, I guess I was aiming for 8:59, um, and I probably am a conservative person.
Sure.
Um, uh, like, you just see too many people walking on the run, and I think they've overbiked. Excuse me. So I just always have that in the back of my mind. Um, Ended up going 4:39
Okay.
with the help of some borrowed wheels, uh, which were nice, really nice.
Yep.
A disc and I think it was an 80 mil front.
Yep.
They
Nice.
got going real nice, and even in the crosswinds, I feel like it gives you that bit of sailing sort of effect.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the that first part out along the coast was all tailwind. We You got out onto that main road and you were flying straight away, so it
Yeah. Yeah.
was a pretty good pretty good headspace straight away. I dropped a bottle out on that road. Just had that second. It was like, no, I've got to. There's 150 grams of carbs in there. I've got to stop and pick it up. One guy went past, and that's fine. Um, then yeah, just like locked into the rhythm. Roads were roads were good, compared to some of the roads we have around Newcastle. Um, Aid station, like, volunteers were unreal. Um, Sort of let them know what you want. They'd run next to you so you could keep going just at a decent clip.
Yep.
Yeah, just focus was sort of hitting that. I found I was finding speed from less than target power, so I
Okay.
did
What'd you
sort of.
average?
I was 2:30. Where are we? 236 average
Mm-hmm.
power. I sort of was thinking I was capable of sort of 245 to 250.
Okay.
But
And what, you just felt the speed was there that you didn't need to push that hard. You could
yeah,
pull back a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. Um, and I knew there'd be headwind to like sort of push against. So
Yep.
yeah, everything was going really well. Um, and it compared to Port, I don't know if it's I've done it like I've done it before or the time just flew by and it was nearly an hour quicker too, so that helped.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah. Um, yeah, just pretty much solo the whole time. Um, didn't I can't really remember many packs, but I was locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And then, so you did that in 4:39.
Yeah, 4:39. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, boom, out onto the run. What'd you run?
Yeah, ran a 309 mid. Um, so that was great.
Yep.
Wait, I would say like I felt like my overall run performance was probably better at Port Macquarie, but just this turned out a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Um,
It, just a flat. I think Busso is just a flat, hard track. You can just push it a little bit. Like, even if you're not running as well, you still get
mm,
that bump.
yep. Um, and yeah, like you said before, running through, sort of go around a brick thing near the jetty, and there's people at that pub just
Yep.
getting in you. You look down and you're like, oh, shouldn't be here, but
Yeah, I'm running 3 minute Ks. What the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah, it's the beauty of the crowd support.
Yeah. But yeah, then all of a sudden it's gone and you got to deal with that friggin' spiked heart rate.
Yeah, and the headwind.
Yeah.
Um,
What was the wind like?
yeah,
Was it as bad as people said?
it was headwind going out um, north. I guess I can't orientate myself on the
Yeah,
west coast
West
very
Australia's
well.
a nightmare. Yeah.
North, and then tailwind. Yeah, tailwind on the long stretch, but it sort of felt like the headwind was slowing you down, and the tailwind didn't really give you that push. And even though it wasn't a hot day, I felt myself like heating in that tailwind. Just
Yeah. Right.
sort of it was quite like a bit of reprieve from the heat running into
Hmm.
the headwind. You got that cooling.
Did you do any heat work before heading over?
Oh, I don't know if it was heat work. I on my easy days, I'd go up to the gym and do 25 minutes on the treadie easy, and then jump in the sauna for 15.
Hmm.
Um, whether that was just to extend an easy session or it was heat work, I'm not sure. But uh, yeah, the temperatures definitely went up.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't find everyone says Bustleton's a hot race, but like I don't, maybe it's just where you and I live, being like sort of Newcastle Hunter Valley region. I don't find it that hot. I find it pretty comparable.
yeah, I think yeah. Um, but there was cloud cover, I think, and when we got that rain, sort of the last 10 minutes on the bike. Um, yeah, that was I was in T2. There was probably a group of 5 or 6 of us. Me and a English fella cleared out, and we were sort of running in second place together, which was he sort of dropped back a bit, and I was like, oh shit, I'm in second place at an Ironman. Um, got a little excited, and I think I was in second for probably 11 kilometers, and then yeah, got a bit excited and paid for that later. So I sort of trained towards a 3 hour mara. But yeah, legs fell off a bit towards the end, as they do.
Yeah. Cool. Let's talk about your training, because that's kind of how we just decided to do this podcast.
Yeah,
You and I had sort of been going back and forth on Instagram a little bit, and you asked me if I was still getting coached. I was like, yep, still getting coached. Said, what about you? You said you'd say you're self-coached, but you consult with a couple of smart guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I was like, cool. Do you mind if I ask who you consult with? You went through your guys, and then I'm sorry for everyone listening. I'm literally reading the messages as we go, as I'm reading this out. Where is it? You said you've got to build efficiency, and to do that, you've got to raise your FTP by using sweet spots and progressive overload. My training's very simple. You said you're definitely more run focused, and you think most people overbike. So that's kind of how we started this.
yeah. I guess sort of maybe discovered that at Port. I think like if you're a strong cyclist, it's a good course for you. But if you look at like the rankings between swim, bike, and run, I was sort of 20 something for the swim and the bike. Sorry, the swim and the run, and 100th bike. And then that gave me like a 30th. I think I was 33rd overall that day with the pros. Yeah, I just if if you can sort of get through the marathon without walking, I think like you're in really good shape, in a really good place.
Yeah, you can definitely run a lot of people down in that last hour.
Yeah, and that puts you in that like positive sort of loop thought train of thought, I guess. Like how good's this? Um, yeah, but I would say for Busso, I definitely like I like to focus on the run, but I also put a lot of work in on the bike. Um, but yeah, it is pretty simple stuff. What I was
Yeah,
following.
well, take us through it. Like, let's go back. Like, when did you start the training block for Busso?
Yeah, so I did I did Husky in March
Yep.
or February or whenever it was.
Yeah, February. I was down there.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and before that, fellow called a Newcastle guy, Mick Quinn,
Yep.
sort of talking to him about bike training, and he sort of explained the sweet spot stuff. And I guess it's that 90 to 95% of your FTP.
So it's just kind of like tempo for running, right? The equivalent.
Yeah, yeah, and which needs a bit of a mind shift too, because that's talked about the grey zone. Like it's yeah, not threshold, not zone 2, whatever. But
Yep.
basically, uh, accumulate as much as you can up to an hour at that spot and at that sweet spot, and you recover really quickly because you haven't got stepped over that line. And
Sure.
yeah, and then you can get up and train the next day. So I had one of those sessions a week, and it might start as 2 by 10, and it sort of just gradually increases to like 3 weeks out. I just did an hour at that 95%.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so what's your 95% of FTP? What sort of number's that?
yeah, I think it was around 310.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what's that make to 50? That's like 60, 70%, something like that. 65%.
Yeah, so Busso is like the intensity factor was 0.71. So
Okay.
yeah, 71%. So I do that on a Wednesday. Monday and Friday would just be like an hour on the trainer before work, at about Ironman power. Just pretty much
Just like
consistent.
a 60-minute straight
Yeah,
block. Yep.
yeah. And then Saturdays Mick would call it just pressure, like up to sort of not every week, but built up to. We probably maxed out at 150. Just he'd say pressure on the pedals.
Okay. So just that's like a zone 2 recovery style ride.
Yeah, but they'd be bloody hard. Like, yeah,
No
they'd be pretty
freewheeling.
hard. Nah. Um, yeah, no, there's like no easy pedals basically, and that'd
Yep.
be either up to the bay from sort of Newcastle up to Fingal Bay and back, or down to the entrance over the
So
hills
you
at
said what,
Catho.
100,
And
150K, something like that.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, um, yeah, just and getting that nutrition in, like race nutrition, kind of. I was doing the sugar water, so I wasn't spending $90 every 3 weeks on Tailwind, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and not you get to a hill and there's no sort of 400-watt efforts. It's like stick to the power, um, and
So
you
you
do.
put a cap on the top of the power for those rides.
Uh, he didn't put a number on it, but um, I guess if you yeah you don't want to go over didn't he you don't want to see over threshold too often, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. But like,
Yeah.
if you're trying to stick to 150, is he like, did he put us be like, not definitely nothing over 200, for example, or was he just like keep it as close to 150 as possible?
250, 250. Yeah,
250. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I guess the uh, thought behind that would be if you do the hill at 400 watts and you do it at 250, it might be 5 seconds. Like you're just not gaining that time.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Time versus
and
effort.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, always a run off. Um, maybe 6 kilometers, capping out at like 10 or 12. Yeah,
Yep. So,
and oh,
yep.
yep,
Go. No, shoot,
and that
shoot.
would yeah, that was the bike. That was the
Okay,
bike.
so bike was 2 1-hour sessions at essentially Ironman power, a
Yeah.
sweet spot session that eventually built up to an hour at that 90-95%, and then
Yeah.
your long upper zone 2, zone 3 ride on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
What sort of volume were you ticking out, like in terms of kilometers?
Let me find. So on the 3 weeks out, 40, 90, 120, 250, 260, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's that sort of sweet spot session. Like, probably could have done a bit better warm up, but it's sort of like 4 minutes from where I parked to onto Kooragang Road, and then it's on. So
Yeah.
it's all pretty. That was pretty time efficient as well.
Sure.
And you notice
Uh,
like, oh yeah,
I was gonna say I literally just did a podcast with Clayton before this, Clayton Fattel, and he was just talking about it's sometimes if you do it correctly, it's actually an advantage for age groupers of how efficient you have to be because you've got to get to work, whatever. You might only have 12, 15, 20 hours, whatever it is, while the
yeah,
pros have got 30 plus hours. He's like, sometimes you just got to park the car, get fucking stuck in, and like you actually you can get a much better stimulus doing that correctly rather than the 20 minutes, go for a warm up. I'm like, all right, now we'll get into it.
yeah, yeah. That was that. And shower at Beresfield Pool on the way to work.
Yeah, treat yourself, mate, eh? Cool. So, how long did you say the training block was? Like, when did you decide, okay, I'm training for Busso to break 9?
I yeah, I really enjoy training. Um, so I sort of look,
I'm sure you're always training, right? Because you're just like a naturally fit dude, surfing, whatever. But like, there
yeah,
obviously was a conscious decision, like, cool, like this is the goal, this is when we're going for it.
yeah. I think it's probably a 14 week block.
Okay, so that's not a huge block in terms of Ironman.
Yeah. But all through winter was like 1 hour 45 on a Sunday, like like run.
Yep.
Winter was more like hills, and then in the block was more course specific with like pace stuff as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Um, but yeah,
Cool.
probably like on the bike, um, I'd say 14 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So winter, big base building phase, just strengthening the legs, trail running, hill running, stuff like that. Same on the bike. We're
Yeah.
14 weeks out. How does your training shift then? Like, are you going straight full? It's a full clip 14 weeks, or is it a? Obviously, there's progressive overload, like we've already spoke about that. But like,
Yeah.
is it progressive in terms of hours, or is it progressive just in terms of effort?
I would say structure like stays basically the same.
Yep. Just
And
intensity fluctuates.
it's basically Saturday and Sunday get slowly longer.
Okay.
Like Monday to Friday's pretty much like cut and paste.
Yep.
Although there are some like in terms of running, like kept the sort of classic like VO threshold or VO2 or whatever, 6 by 1K. That's there, and then but that did change to sort of the marathon sessions that I've done in the past, um, just to get used to that grind, I guess, and
Yeah. So take us
helps.
take us through your run training. So
Yeah, so
yeah, what's an average week? Because
hmm,
again, when we spoke, you were like, you just got to build efficiency and not fade on the run. Like that was the main thing I took away as
yeah,
interesting things that you chose to message me.
yeah. And I think if you like listen to people who know what they're talking about in running, um, I heard on another podcast, Andy Buchanan, who's just broken the Australian record for the marathon. He's like 49 weeks of the year. It's a 2 hour 30 long run. So I think just the more you can do that without being injured, the better. But yeah, so Monday Arvo, if work, if like motivation was fine. Earlier in the block, I was running more on a Monday Arvo, just 30 minutes, just recovery. There's a fair bit of bush near here, so off the concrete as much as I could. Um, Tuesday was Tuesday Arvo was yeah like a track set, I guess you'd call it, whether that's at the track or on on the road or on the gravel. Um, so that'd be just the classic like 1K reps or mile reps or 800s, just to keep that speed ticking over.
And doing that at threshold or doing that at tempo or
Uh,
differed.
yeah, probably threshold or faster.
Yep.
Yeah, I like don't think I could run 3:30 pace for an hour.
It's fair.
Yeah. Then Wednesday Arvo, just another recovery run. Um, Thursday afternoon would be try to make it that midweek long run, which for me, it's the worst session of the week.
Yeah.
Trying to like grind out over an hour after work, especially in winter. Um,
Yeah, dark early, like what you
yeah,
you knock off school 4 o'clock, something like that. By the time you get home and whatnot, you're
yeah,
running at 5:30. Yeah,
yeah. Um, then yeah, Friday just another like recovery run.
so you're running 5 days a week though. Like that's
Uh, yeah, sometimes just every day.
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lot of run volume.
yeah, and I think like that those COVID years sort of set me up nicely for that.
Yeah,
They were big running years.
sure.
Yeah.
Do you
Um,
notice it? I know you said you try and get off the concrete as much as you can. I recently, before I started this Ironman block, I did a train for an ultra marathon and a couple of trail runs, and I was exclusively running on either grass or trails. And then I went back to doing road running, and I actually felt like I'd lost a lot of conditioning. Do you notice anything like that?
it's when it's not exclusive, I guess. Like Glenrock's, uh, like national park's a kilometer away, so like it's road to there.
Yep.
There's also like a 15-kilometer bike track, so it's like, yeah, it's mixed terrain, I would say.
Sure.
Um, yeah, but I just find like you seem to pull up a lot easier, a lot
I
better.
can trail run and be absolutely fine, but like if I like a 20k trail run, no worries. If I do a 20k hard road run, I'm like I know about it for a couple of
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I guess next day as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely mixed up the surfaces, especially like weather as well can dictate that.
yeah, that's fair. Cool. And then what did your weekend running look like?
Yeah, so Saturday would be a run off the bike,
Yep.
or if for some reason I didn't like through winter, if I didn't ride, I'd join the group and they do sort of more of a threshold fartlek,
Yep.
which ends up being like 16k of total running.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Sunday just um yeah, anywhere from 90, 100 up to probably topped out at 2 hours 30 for the Ironman build.
Yeah. And what's that? Be like 30 something Ks.
I think it was 35.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty normal. Um,
Plenty of
I'm
work.
yeah,
Plenty of work
I'm
at
surprised
effort.
how much. Yeah, that was my next question. Was how do you dictate when and how much effort you put in?
Um, I guess like the sweet spot stuff, the marathon sessions just sort of build sequentially. So might start out as 3 by 2k at pace within that 2 hour run.
Yep.
Um, and I think I did 3 by 8 at pace and also a half marathon. So at effort, oh yeah, at effort
Yeah, effort,
when my
marathon pace. We know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah. So that's sort of how that built up.
And I'm just interested because like you obviously self-coached and like it's tough to coach yourself, especially when you're getting towards 10, 9, like you've broken 9 now, like it's hard for athletes to know if they're being too hard on themselves, not hard enough, like is this the right amount of work, because I think the majority of us would just run ourselves into the ground in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. You got to enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, like that marathon sequence and all those like Tuesday and Saturday sessions, they've sort of come from a coach as well. Yeah, just like a local run group. Meet at the track every Tuesday, and then yeah, they do a session on the Fernley track on a Saturday.
Yep.
So that's where the ideas come from. Whether I've scheduled that right with the swim and the bike as well, who knows? But it's sort of working.
Yeah. I think it's also a tough thing is taking training like just from a run coach, just from a bike coach, just from a swim coach, and then combining them into triathlon. Like it's not as simple as just copy and paste.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think you just learn to know your body um, through winter. I'd start, yeah, swimming with a few guys and just toweled up every Tuesday and Thursday morning. But
Yep.
to like, you just learn to go. Oh, I'm doing like 8 by 1k tonight on a
Eight
Tuesday,
by
for
one.
example. Oh,
That's fucking.
sorry, running.
Oh right, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
mate, that is fucking
No,
horrendous.
no, like you're sort of getting dropped in the swim, but you just go, oh, I've got training this afternoon, and like just accepting that is
Yeah,
important as well. Yeah,
yeah,
no, and I guess not thinking too much into it.
yeah. Hold on, just one
Yeah,
sec, mate. My dog's having a hissy fit.
yeah.
Cool. Let's talk to me about swim training Because obviously
Yeah,
you're at the pointy end of the swim, like so you're doing something right with that.
yeah. I've been pretty lucky with swimming. Like sort of the group training group and guys I train with. There's some very handy swimmers, um, and I guess just trying to hold feet for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I get we'd probably go up to like 400-meter reps, and then still plenty of like 50s and hundreds on short recovery. Yeah, there was I didn't have to think at all about swimming.
So you
Um,
just do squad swimming.
yeah, there's probably up to five of us. We
Okay.
sort of sneak into a lane between two squads at Charlestown.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and I didn't have to think. Just rock up, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah. What sort of swim
Obviously,
volume are you knocking out?
oh, I'd be happy with 8K.
Okay, so relatively low.
Yeah, yeah. Um, two swims would be default. Then if I could get away on a Saturday arvo and just go to the bars or something, knock out another couple.
Wow. I,
I seem to respond pretty well to the weddy. Sort of maybe like yeah, probably 5 weeks out, I'd just skip a pool session and go to the bars and put the weddy on and
mm,
Merriweather try and swim long laps, just those 100-meter laps.
yep.
Um, and just like continuous. And yeah, the weddy does me some favors, which is nice.
That's wild. 8Ks a week and you're able to swim in the 50s. Like, I think a lot of people are swimming 10 plus Ks and can't break an hour.
Yeah, and yeah, there's people you talk to. There's discussion about that, and I think there's that point where you can invest time into other areas and lose 4 minutes and gain it on the bike or the run as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation I have with my coach because he's like, you could be a really good swimmer. And I was like, I just don't want to invest that time. I've got this so much more improvement on the bike and the run. Like I can peel minutes off the bike and the run, and like I might get a few seconds off in the swim for the
Yeah,
equivalent work.
yeah. I think obviously it's such a technique as opposed to biking and running. It's so technique based, and
Yeah,
um, I've never been like coached as or like yeah squad or anything, but maybe some people get lucky.
yeah. Like so, you didn't do like squad growing up or anything?
Nah, I didn't know squad. Just sort of, I don't know if surfing growing up helped. Been around the ocean a lot, but yeah, I think I've just
I
lucked
mean,
out
yeah,
on
there's
that
probably
one.
some natural touch to that, I guess, like something you just develop over years. But
Yeah, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
but maybe you just got the gift, mate. Who knows?
Yeah, no.
So what's next, dude? Like you've broken 9. That's like most athletes. I can only dream of that. You sort of seem like you've done it pretty lackadaisically. And
Yeah.
yeah, what's next?
I guess like so I was just sort of scrolled through that right column of weekly totals, and I would say the volume ranged, it topped out I saw it 116, but it was mainly between 12 and 15 hours. But it
So
most of it,
relatively low.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like for me, I'm already training over that now. I'm not even into a build.
Hmm. Yeah, but there's not, I feel like the four bike sessions all have, there's not much junk in there.
Sure.
Um, you know, I do those 30-minute runs because it's just what I do. Take the dog out or just
Yeah, sure.
run to the bush or whatever. It's just what I enjoy. But apart from that, everything's like pretty quality, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, moving forward, if I can sort of get up after New Year's, I'll have a crack at an Olympic distance at Stockton. which is a qualifier for the age group world champs
Oh,
in
yep,
Wollongong. Sort of logistically easy to have a go at.
for sure.
Um, I've done 2 failed marathon builds. Pretty sure I've got a ticket for Sydney Marathon in
Mm-hmm.
August, and then
But try and break 3 in the marathon, or
I'd like to think so. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and maybe Western Sydney.
No eyes on Kona. Trying to get a spot. Thinking about it.
Not right now.
No,
Like just with life, I guess.
sure.
I'd rather a new kitchen, to be honest.
That's fair. I was literally just talking to Clado, and he was like, he said the price on the island has got so out of whack that he literally felt like he was being robbed the whole week. He said like if you're going for a week, it's 10 grand. And I was like, fuck me, $10,000 to do a friggin' triathlon.
Yeah, and yeah, I would. And Nice doesn't. It doesn't suit me. Like,
Yeah,
can't descend. Um,
I don't.
Probably
I
I'm
don't
aiming
even
for like
I don't even think about Nice. Like I don't know if it's just Kona's the reason I got into the sport or whatever, but like when I think of world champ, I only think of Kona. Like I don't even Nice doesn't even register in my head.
yeah. Oh, it's a great. It was loved watching it.
Oh,
Like
for sure. It'd be a
yeah,
great Ironman to go and do and just have
mm,
fun and whatever, but I
mm,
don't associate it with like the pinnacle.
yeah. But yeah, can't descend. Probably 85 kgs at a minimum.
Yep.
Um,
Feel ya.
doesn't really suit me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, down the track, Kona, not sure.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so maybe Western Sydney. Um, it was the first half, so got to sort of rewrite that time.
Yeah, that's fair. I was interested because like like you're right there in terms of like the top age groupers. Like you're not that far off. Like another 12 months of building and you're probably battling for a podium.
Yeah. There
Just
was
not inclined or
a podium where
probably at any Australian Ironman for an age group.
yeah, um, yeah, I don't know. First place at Busso was daylight ahead of us,
Sure.
and then sort of the minors were a bit more compact. I'll hopefully do Cairns 26.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
And
like the
yeah.
Busso to Port turnaround is like pretty gnarly.
You reckon?
Yeah, more so like mentally,
Sure. Okay.
perhaps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did when I first started, I did Busso, Cairns, like back to back to back to back. And I felt like that 6 months was maybe it's because I was just getting into the sport and like it wasn't as brutal, but I found that 6 months was like a good window.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Each to
Port,
their
yeah,
own with that.
yeah, maybe, yeah. But I'm definitely keen to like do Cairns, tick all the Australian ones off,
Yeah.
and
Cairns is
then
gnarly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sweat like a I don't know what. So I'll have
Yeah.
to work on that hydration plan.
Yeah, talk to me about nutrition and hydration, and we'll finish on that. Like, how do you go about nailing that and organizing, like working out what you need and stuff?
Yeah, it's training training rides. Probably just aim for that 90 grams, 90 to yeah 90-ish grams. I I think for the port build, there's a guy on YouTube called Jesse Coyle, and he yeah broke down white table sugar compared to other products, and it's pretty similar. So
Really? Like
yeah,
compared to like what's in gels?
yeah, yeah, like the beta fuel and whatever else.
Sure.
Um, so I use Tailwind, which I like. It's really subtle, but if I'm doing like 100 or up to 180 grams in a bottle for 2 bottles, I'll probably do like 50 grams of Tailwind and just supplement the rest with white sugar, like simple
Yeah, okay.
syrup. And I usually squeeze a lemon into it just to cut through a bit. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Then
How do you find transferring, like, come race day, if
mm,
you've just practiced Tailwind sugar blend?
yeah,
I'm assuming when you race, you just race on Tailwind, or do you
yeah,
do the
yeah,
sugar blend again?
yeah.
How do
Sort
you
of
do? You wean
probably
out the
like
sugar, or
yeah,
yeah, okay,
yeah, probably up it like closer to the race.
yeah,
Yeah, and then like train on Morton. It's great. Morton gels for the run.
yeah.
Um,
What are you trying to
Morton
hit? What
gel.
are you trying to hit on the run, or you just go
Oh,
by feel?
yeah. Let's say it's a 2 hour long run, and you
Also, race
doing
run. Like, what's your race fueling for?
yeah. Uh, Probably every five. Port, I was probably a bit more structured. Um, I think I had Morton every a gel every 5 kilometers.
Okay, it's
Up
like
to
every
about
20 minutes, give or take.
yeah, up to about 25K. Then I got onto the Black Doctor for the to bring me home.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I heard Chelsea Sodaro walked the aid stations when she won Kona, so I've adopted that as well.
Yeah,
It's
guy's
good
big
enough.
on that too. He's like, just walk the aids. Take the time to get your nutrition in,
Yeah,
and then go.
especially Coke. Like you don't want that all over your face and
Yeah,
doing your suit
spilling
and
all.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
disaster.
yeah, yeah. Probably like probably went a bit, or I was a bit deeper in the box in Busso, and just sort of the Coke got me through.
Yeah, can relate. The Coke's the only thing that got me through cans in the end. Like, brutal.
Yeah,
Um, I just find it interesting how, like, there's just polar ends of the scale in terms of you try and I feel like you're trying to pull stuff away from your training to simplify it more and more and more, like even down to like sugar water. Um, Obviously there is a a certain amount of research that you put into it, so it's not like effortless, but you do the research to make it as effortless as possible, while other people are almost searching for more complexity and more like, how do I do a fat oxidation block and how do I do A, B, and C? And you're just like, simple, simple, simple.
yeah, yeah. I guess like you're out there doing an activity for an hour, 5 hours, and 4 hours, let's say. Um, and I guess like maybe it just comes down to that efficiency. Um, because I'm seeing like yeah in Ironman blocks, people doing 40 second. Their Zwift thing comes
Yep.
up, 40 seconds, 40 second like reps. Um, and I'm like, there's obviously people that know way more than me, but just sort of like yeah, probably it, do the rep more like what you're racing, basically.
Sure.
Um, yeah, like after New Year's for this Olympic distance stuff, I'm probably going to do some 4 minute reps or, um, you know, go to a 2 minute hill and try and, you know, hold really high power just to get that snap back.
Yep.
I did a club race the week Sunday before last and just had nothing. Obviously,
Yeah.
still recovering. Like they say, it takes a long time to recover.
Yeah, your nervous system's cooked.
Yeah. But yeah, just to find that snappiness back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Do you
So,
do you think, oh, two-part question. Do you take it as a point of pride of being self-coached and that you're able to do this for yourself? And second part of
oh,
the question, yeah, go.
yeah,
You do that, and I'll do the
I'm,
second part.
yeah, I'm like very appreciative of the time and information that people have shared with me.
Of course, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And, um, yeah, and I think like a coach is really good for people who need a bit of motivation um, or are new to the sport also. And don't want to think about it. I really enjoy like thinking about it and talking about it, and
Yeah, right, okay.
yeah, and the guys I train with are the same as well. So yeah, yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Well, you kind of answered the second part of my question. I was going to be like, do you ever see a point where you go to a coach? But I would say more for you. You answered it more from a newer athlete, someone who lacks motivation or sort of learning the sport, where you're like, okay, like I'm just going to use Kona as an example, but like, okay, I want to go to Kona. Like, it would make sense to get a coach that has taken athletes to Kona, has high
Yeah,
performers at Kona, etc.
I think so. Like it, from what you see, it's a different beast. And you ask about heat prep, and I think there's more to it than going to sit up in the sauna for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
there's a lot more though. Like,
okay,
I don't hear too much more. There's nuance, but most of it's just sauna work.
yeah, um, yeah, and I think like Kona for us is a tricky one, with time of year as
Yeah,
well, coming out of winter. So you would have to, I guess, put that effort in, or whether it's like jumpers on the trainer or
yeah. I know. Dan Barry, he bought like a. I don't know if it was like an altitude tent or he just bought like a greenhouse from like Big W, like a plastic greenhouse, and put it over the trainer and just sweated his ass out. But yeah,
that's a different level.
yeah. Hey, he was going for it, man.
Yeah,
He went hard for it.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and was there a second part of that, or
The second part was do you see a point where you would ever go to a coach? But you kind of answered it. We kind of talked through it, but yeah,
mm, yeah, I think too, like just training with people, um, who are better than you as well.
yeah, for sure. You get the
Um,
rub.
yeah, yeah. If you can
Yeah,
get around a group that, yeah, motivates you and pushes you, I think that's super important.
yeah. It was actually interesting. Again, I was just talking to Clado before how he coaches. He's recently started coaching based on like if someone's an extrovert, introvert, etc. Like
Yeah,
he'd be like extrovert. He's like group session, go to squad, like go get around people, go vibe off them. And introvert, he's like, I just need you to do one squad a month, or I just need you to do this. Like, go get around these people, learn what you can, then get the fuck away from them.
yeah. It's that energy taking or energy giving.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, yeah, it's almost a session in itself for an introvert to go and hang out with people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
can relate. All right,
yeah,
dude. That's an hour. Happy?
yeah. All good.
Cool. Where can people find you? Instagram? Anything else that you're on? Where do you post
Oh,
your
yeah.
triathlon content? If you
No,
do,
there's not much of that.
no. You're a good photographer though.
um,
You do surf photography and things.
yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's just Blake Parker photo.
Blake
And
Parker photo on Instagram. We'll link it
yep,
below.
maybe a
Cool.
sneaky triathlon photo here and there if I
Yeah.
purchase the Sportograph eventually.
They're freaking expensive.
Oh, jeez.
They don't miss you. You reckon you pay $1,000 for an Ironman entry, you get a friggin'
Yeah,
$100 photo pack.
yeah.
But
Sweet.
all
All
right,
right.
dude. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Take care. Merry Christmas.
You too, mate. See ya. Bye.
Thanks. See ya.